So I'm basically doing this video and getting collaboration. I've got like a nickname for the rabbis, and like obviously you're the monk rabbi.
Or the kickboxing rabbi.
Well, could be. I've got my book of all the rabbis' base. I've got like nicknames for everyone, and like I don't know if it's obvious, but I was like, you're like a soldier rabbi. So you're like the soldier, but then it's crazy because you're like the so. You wouldn't see a typical soldier. And so I've got a list of everyone because I want to like show what my family was like excuse. But I mean, the world needs to know that a rabbi is Aish HaTorah. So I've got a list of like nicknames for all the rabbis, and you're like the grandpa rabbi. Like you're like the grandpa of Aish. So you grew up religious, right? You didn't grow up. Were you from or culture? No. Yeah. How? Like your parents didn't you go to Jewish school? Like, tell us about this.
I grew up to a conservative / reform home.
Yeah.
Which means that we had an idea of Shabbat.
Yeah.
Friday night dinner, we had Kiddush, we didn't drive on Shabbat. But, there are some things like the dishwasher, the radio. If you're on vacation, maybe we wouldn't keep Shabbat, we would go swimming, I would play Little League on Shabbat. So we had a concept of Shabbat, but not really in any halachic Orthodox sense, which was very confusing. Kosher, the same thing. In the home, mainly kosher, as much as my parents knew, but we would not eat kosher outside of the house necessarily. We didn't eat pork, things like that, but...
Did you grow up religious?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I grew up Orthodox family, but out of town. In America, it means there's New York area, and then there's out of town. I was in Cleveland, Ohio. In the Orthodox world, certainly in 1956, even now, like 95% of the Orthodox world is New York. Now New York is New York, New Jersey. Familiar with the... Yeah. So out of town is a whole, like much more of a minority idea. While in New York, you had a massive Orthodox world around it.
Right. Yeah. So you didn't have much of a community around.
Not Orthodox, no.
So did you keep Shabbos or?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So we were Orthodox. We kept Shabbos and kosher. We weren't we were mainline Orthodox. Like on Shabbos, after my bar mitzvah, wore a black hat, suit.
Oh, whoa. Was it difficult accepting Judaism's true, or was it like a relief?
It was very difficult because I had some reasons that I didn't want it to be true. I had some cognitive bias, or confirmation bias. Lots of reasons I didn't want Judaism to be true because I had certain life plans that didn't fit in with Jewish teachings. But the evidence was so strong that it overcame my cognitive bias, and I realized I'm going to have to let go of some things that I find very important and meaningful in my life, because although they feel important and meaningful, if they're not in line with Torah, they can't really be true or good for my soul. So I had to let go of many things that were important to me, but for something more important.
Yeah, well, was that more difficult than doing the 10-day fast and retreat and all of these?
I actually don't think so. I don't tend to find things difficult. I guess it was in a way. It's difficult to start keeping kosher and start interacting with women in a different way and start keeping Shabbos. But I was always into kind of difficult things. Martial art, got a black belt in Taekwondo, that's difficult. Climbing in the Himalayas is difficult. So difficult was never really an issue for me. I'm okay with, I actually quite relish difficult things.
And then, when did you start going more on the derrick or?
When did I start? So I think it really starts before that. Before I was even that amount of practical traditional Judaism that I was exposed to, started being very suspective and not interested in at a young age. I remember being maybe 11 or 10. My dad said, he called me down to my room Friday night and he said, it's time for Kiddush. He said, I don't want to hear Kiddush because I don't believe in God. He said, but you don't want to eat dinner? I said, no, I guess I don't eat dinner, so I'll come for Kiddush. But already, this whole thing just seemed silly to me. Why are we doing all these rituals that don't mean anything? We don't understand why we're doing them.
Did you go to yeshiva, or did you go to college or anything? No,
Yeah, well, so I went to Orthodox schools all my life. Kindergarten. It says, for example, in those days, the very Orthodox schools were still mixed boys and girls till bar mitzvah. While now they're all, because there's so many more people, so they don't need that. So they have boys schools and girls schools from the beginning. And after high school, I went to yeshiva. The yeshiva in Cleveland didn't allow guys to go to yeshiva and college at the same time. They actually had where if you want to go to college, a lot of colleges recognize their yeshiva learning 4 years of a bachelor's, but they didn't allow, they wanted full-time yeshiva learning. I went to yeshiva in Baltimore, now Rizzo, where they allowed you to go to yeshiva and university at the same time. And then one of the universities, Loyola, which is a fine Catholic institution, they actually recognize something like 40% of the classes needed for graduating Loyola. They give you 40% of your credits for your yeshiva studies. So if you took 60% of your class of the college load, the 4-year college load in Loyola, plus at the same time you're in yeshiva, you graduate a full BA in 4 years.
Oh, that's good.
It's like the Catholics are trying to make up for the Holocaust.
Would you regret it? Do you wish you could have gone to South America now? Or
No.
back to...
I kind of just got rid of my bucket list because I could have been traveling forever. I also wanted to canoe down the Yukon, and I wanted to do loads of stuff. But I realized in a way that shows a dissatisfaction with life. Someone who just keeps needing to travel and more experiences and another bucket list, and it never ends. Although those experiences are amazing and powerful for you, at some point I decided I want to settle down and have responsibility and create great things in the world.
Then later, when I was in high school, so my older sister went to public school. She became very secular, very troublesome to my parents. So my parents were concerned that I was going to marry a non-Jew. So they sent me to an Orthodox high school. So in 9th grade, I was sent to Orthodox high school. And twice a day that you had to daven, that you had to pray, and that you had to learn Gemara. Those were all new things for me, which I hated. It was the worst year of my life. And then that year, that same year, which is when things started to change, because my grandfather passed away. So we're driving to the funeral. It was in Long Island. I grew up in Philadelphia. And we're driving to Long Island to the funeral. Anyone, you would never know this. I don't know if you've been to the East Coast of America.
Bits? Not much.
Whatever. You drive on the highway the whole time to get there. There's no reason to go into the New York City or anything like that. There's highways all the way there. So we're driving. This is before Waze or Google Maps. It's going based off an old Garmin GPS.
Yeah.
It says it's going to take an hour, 2.5 hour detour out of the way. I'm like, no. That wasn't crazy. They were not good. That happened. We kept driving. And asked us again, we're taking this detour 2.5 hours out of the way. We're like, no, that's stupid. We're driving to the funeral and asked us the third time, do you want to take this detour? We're like, you know what? We're not from New York. We don't know the area so well. You know what? We might as well just take the detour. Probably knows a better way than us. We took the detour. Took us off the highway. To the city, to the neighborhood, to the street, to the house that my grandfather grew up in.
That's great. On the way to his funeral.
On the way to his funeral. No one programmed it. My dad, I don't remember him saying the word God before that point in my life. he got out of the car in the middle of the street, and he's like, God's pulling us this way.
What did you study?
Oh, business administration. Like, I didn't really think I was going to be a rabbi.
Yeah? You thought you were going to go to business?
Yeah, work. I mean, like, yeshiva is really not a rabbinical seminary. You know, in the Christian world, and why else would you be learning unless you wanted to be a clergyman? So yeshivas call themselves like rabbi because the learning is what a rabbi has to know. But really, learning is what every Jew has to know. If you can picture the difference in a secular world between a high school grad and a college grad as to how they look at the college grad as a much more high-level human being in a way, going to yeshiva for a few years after high school is seen the same way, even more maybe, like stopping your yeshiva studies at 18 and then going to a regular college. You're like a high school dropout, practically Jewish wing. You're supposed to go to yeshiva where you're learning more of an adult Jewish knowledge.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
And did you use your degree at all? Your business?
No, even when I did computer software sales, I did all the time of sales. I guess what I totally didn't want to do is a normal job. I didn't want to work 9 to 5. I did sales and other type of stuff. And then I did, at the same time, little side issues like Jewish education. Can you picture different Jewish institutions? They have outreach or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would do that, more volunteer, and I got more and more into that than into business.
All right, so it was like more of a natural thing coming back into yeshiva.
Kind of, yeah, doing Jewish stuff.
What about someone that has no intro to Judaism at all? Like, what would you say to them? Or like they just think religion's a joke?
I understand that. It does seem like that. Often religious people on the surface level do not seem that spiritual or even that nice. And people are very caught up in their stuff in this world. But the truth is, in general, there are very, very few truly happy people with great marriages and who love their jobs. And life in the secular world isn't all that inspiring, meaningful, empowering. And therefore, to look into an ancient path of self-refinement and spiritual enlightenment would be probably a sensible thing to do anyway, just because it offers something incredible. So for example, imagine you had a millionaire uncle who lived upstate. And you don't know him that well, but whatever, he seemed okay. And then one day he died. And you got a message, he left you an envelope. But you have to travel like 4 hours to go and get the envelope. Now there could be a note in the envelope saying, I hate you and I'm glad we never really met. There could. And there could be a check for $1 million. I don't know. Would you take the 4-hour journey to look in that envelope?
Yeah.
I think most people would. So that's what Judaism is offering. I'm saying I'm offering a guidebook to reaching your ultimate spiritual potential in life and tapping into happiness, good self-worth, amazing marriage and relationship, meaning and fulfillment in life, even physical health. Just come and check it out for a bit. Come to yeshiva for a month, do a little bit. And the worst that could happen is you come and you're like, no, this is rubbish, terrible. I wasted a month, and get back to your life, which probably isn't that great anyway.
Okay.
And the best that could happen is you find purpose and meaning and depth and beauty and self-worth and spirituality and God, and so that's worth it, probably.
Was he like catching on, like when you got into the
got
suburb?
closer, we're like, this is weird, and it's got getting weirder and weirder, and it's like, we're here. Like, what are we doing here? So that moment in my life, I'm a 9th grader who cares about basketball and girls, and that's pretty much it in life.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, okay, there's something in the world, whether it's called God, whether it's called Buddha, whether it's called something, there's a force in the world that's supernatural that I cannot explain through science or reason. because I just experienced it. I can't deny that what just happened to me. I don't know what it is, but there's something out there, something that I don't understand.
Like teaching other people like tomorrow and
Okay. It didn't affect my behavior at that point, but that was the first like week. That same summer, I was in a place called Candid. It's an Orthodox camp, modern Orthodox camp. And I had good counselors. I was sitting in the back, and they'd have davening, they'd have prayers every single day, in the morning, 3 times a day. But I would sit in the back and I would not pray. I would just stare at the ground and just like, didn't participate. One of my counselors asked me like, I noticed you don't pray. Like, what's the reason for that? I said, like, why would I say a bunch of words in Hebrew that I don't understand to a God that I don't really even, like, know exists? Like, I know everybody here doesn't even know what they're saying. Like, why would I do that? It's ridiculous.
What was the next biggest role doing a Jewish thing that you did?
So there's a group called Jews for Jesus. And a friend of mine said, we gotta do something about that. Go around as if they're Jewish and stuff like that, and they get unsuspecting Jews that you gotta do something. I thought, not really. So I talked to the head of the yeshiva, who I was close with even when I left yeshiva, Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg. He was the older brother of Noah.
Whoa.
You're going to see the connection soon. And he said, if it's a problem, you got to take your education, you got to learn. I said, what do you mean, learn what? He said, you have to study Christianity and study all of their uses of the Jewish Bible and be able to refute them for any Jew or Gentile who says, well, what about this and what about that? So I started looking into it. I was intrigued by studying Christianity. In other words, it's like, it almost, when the Gentiles say the Jews are running the world, like it almost made sense. Judaism determined that they are Christians, and in other places Judaism determined that they are Muslims. Like Christians or Muslims are the pagan Gentiles of the world who finally said, guess what? The Jews are right. But we don't want to do it, so we have... In other words, it was crazy. It's like, it gave me much more respect for Judaism than as some little religion. We happen to be right, but everybody else thinks not. No, Christianity and Islam are half the world thinks that they were all wrong and we were right. Yeah, do you get the idea? Like the two most basic principles of Judaism is one infinite supreme being who transmitted the Torah to the Jewish people to know how to make a connection to God. If you want to look at more secular, how to create the ideal human being. And Christianity and Islam accept that as basics. In other words, Christianity would say up until Jesus, the only people that had it right in the world were the Jews. The Muslims say up until Muhammad, the only guys that had it right were the Jews. So I find it much shockingly amazing as a Torah observant Jew. In other words, the secular Jews don't think much about what I believe, but the Christians, the Muslims do. You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But maybe there actually is something valuable here. And would you be interested in learning, just about what the prayers are, what they mean? I like my counselor, and I said, sure, why not? So for 5 minutes after prayers every single morning, we learned one bracha, one blessing of Shemon Esrei, of the 18 blessing prayer that we say 3 times a day. And day after day, blessing after blessing, something just clicked. The idea that I could be talking to Hashem, the depth and the beauty of the ideas that we ask from Hashem, I just became addicted to davening. I just wanted to daven more and more. And I went from literally never davening or praying before in my life, shuffling back and forth, being the most intense kid. And again, this was a very run-of-the-mill, average modern Orthodox camp. This is not a yeshiva where people go and this is just a summer camp. I don't know, but I just got lit on fire. Just from learning the basic understanding. That same summer, I was also sitting one day, they had a Beit Midrash, and I opened the book. The book said, the first line, true freedom is serving God. It's like, what? Those are opposites. This book is called the Kuzari. It's a book that gives a debate basically for Judaism being the correct religion, between Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Greek philosophy. It's all dialogue and back and forth. And he gives arguments of why Judaism is correct and other religions are wrong. So I read the book with the goal of being able to refute his arguments. In the end, I was convinced by his arguments and not able to refute them.
Yeah.
And that summer, I basically made the decision that I want to start keeping Shabbat, I want to start keeping the Mitzvot, and I believe in Hashem. I started having a conversation with him, talking to him. And then I took on another thing, and another thing. It wasn't hard. There were a lot of ups and downs, definitely throughout high school. I was happy to be in a community, in a place where I could learn and grow to a certain extent, but not to get to exactly where I wanted to get to. And then I was able to come to Israel and study for many years in yeshiva. And learn a lot of Torah and have amazing teachers and people that helped guide me and help me figure out who I am. And there's a lot of details and a lot of ups and downs.
And then, so in the next step, I did it voluntarily, and then somebody said we ought to do a full-time organization, and we started a group in Baltimore called Jews for Judaism. You'll find that there are other places as well. What happened is that different groups in different cities who had the same goal of dealing with the Christian challenge to the Jewish belief in Old Testament versus New Testament. We started a full-time organization in Baltimore. Other people had it other places, so we kind of, we worked together. And the name Jews for Judaism sounds like catchy. It was taken by, I think, by everybody, almost everybody. And then after a few years, I'm great. I'm good at teaching. I can't stand administration. Like I've been at Aish HaTorah for over 40 years. I can't stand meetings. Not meetings. Meetings. I'm learning meetings, great, but administration meetings for the institution, I can't stand. I can't sit there more than a half hour. So I really couldn't take it. And then I met Rabbi Noah Weinberg. A chance being in Israel. He gave me an offer. I don't know if I want to move to Israel. Then he gave me an offer for a summer. In '83, he got in touch with me, and then in the summer of '84, to try 2-3 months at Aish HaTorah in the summer. And we liked it so much, my wife and I, that we moved here in '85.
And I read one of the convincing stories, one of the evidence that he liked was the Megillah, like in Discovery Seminar. The Megillah. So he said, what would be your favorite Jewish holiday? Like, is Purim your favorite holiday, or what would be your favorite?
I love Sukkot
Yeah.
because firstly it's just getting back out into nature, building a hut and going and living in a hut and shaking leaves, and then it's just a bit primal.
Yeah.
The indigenous man of the land. And it's just a very, very, very spiritually connected and joyful time. Lots of guests, it's just a very special time. I also love Pesach night. We usually do our Seder until 4:30 in the morning and then walk to the Kotel to daven names. I also love Yom Kippur. It's like a meditation retreat. A day of fasting and praying is amazing.
Mm.
So I love them all really. They each have their Hanukkah, they each have their thing.
And then from there, you went to the army, or like, you did Aliyah, or like?
So I always knew that I wanted to go to the Army at a very young age. My grandfather fought in World War II for the U.S. Army. My other grandfather was an engineer in the Navy. So just like this idea of service always was like ingrained into me as like, that's the greatest thing you can do, is serve your country and protect other people. So there's somewhere I want to join the American Army.
And this is the grandfather's house that he...
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. The one who was an engineer in the Navy, that's the house that I built. So I always knew that I wanted to do that. when I came to Israel, my conservative day school in, I think, 8th grade, we went to Har Herzl. Went to the grave of a soldier named Michael Levin. He grew up to a conservative family in Philadelphia, decided that he wanted to draft to the army, moved to Israel, and he died in the Second Lebanon War. He was killed in the Second Lebanon War. Just the idea that there's a Jew that felt so passionate about the land of Israel, the state of Israel, the people of Israel, that he's willing to come here and sacrifice his life. I realized that really this is my country, really this is my land, and these are my people. If I'm going to ever do this in my life, like this is where I'm going to do it. It was very obvious to me in that moment that that's what I needed to do. So from that age, I was like, I think really like high school, being in high school, I was like, this is what I'm doing. And I get into Aish HaTorah, which is the head of yeshiva, which means it's a yeshiva that combines army service and learning of Torah. You learn for 2 years Torah, and you go to the army for a year and a half, and then you study Torah for another 2 years. You learn the ideology and what is the mitzvah of serving in the army and why someone should serve in the army. And from that point, I drafted. I was for a year and a half in combat, a unit called Nachal. After October 7th, I volunteered again for the army in surf duty.
Some people like us.
Over 300 days. Going again very soon. So it's a very special honor that we get to, relive the lives of David HaMelech. He's a warrior and a learner. Live in a very special generation.
Because my wife and I didn't have any kids then. I have 2 kids from a previous marriage, and we didn't have kids till 91. So they had me do the kickoff of the Discovery Seminars in America. The first major outside of the yeshiva, outreach. And I did that from 8 on and off, like 8, 9, 10 months a year in America, 2, 3, 4 months summer here, from 87 to 91. It was like Jewish Peace Corps, really. So enjoyable. Traveling around, living in a basement in Brooklyn, and then flying to different places on Shabbos.
Oh, that's cool. And that was you was primarily doing that solo, or like was Noah with you then? Or?
No. Well, Noah was here, but he had me and a few other guys starting a branch in New York. It's Rabbi, Nehemiah Cooper Smith?
Yeah.
His older brother Eric.
Oh, no way.
Was a major player then. He was really like a second in command to Reb Noah when he was first kicking off. The place is so much of a bigger institution than it was then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you foresee it becoming what it is today, or?
No. He did. Rabbi Weinberg did, but you're a dinky little place.
Yeah, I
The groceries right around the corner?
the Rover Market?
The
No.
Rover Market?
Yeah.
Downstairs and upstairs?
Yeah.
That was for a time the basement.
That's crazy.
And then when they got another place, which is now the dorm for the Gesher,
Oh,
the
yeah?
base medish was there, and that place became the dining room. It's so much huger, and so much more massive than it was then. The idea that they'd have any one of these buildings, these 2 buildings here, beyond comprehension.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like, I thought because we're so spiritual, switched on, I thought Israel would be pretty clean. But if the streets of Jerusalem didn't get clean every day, or every week, it would be crazy. Like, why are we not connected like Japan, in terms of being more aware of our environment?
I think there's so much to work on that it's hard to work on everything, and people have other priorities. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but in terms of how people dress. So you've got a whole world where people are very immodestly dressed, and sexuality is very openly expressed. But the streets are very clean. So I'd probably rather have morality in terms of physical dress and not as clean streets. Obviously, let's have both. I understand that. I'm just saying that in every society, there's things that are more valued. We should value everything, and we're working towards that. But that might explain it. There's so much to work on that we can't hold everything.
Did you always think you're going to be a rabbi during this time, or was that just like, how did that
I
happen?
never was like wanted to be a rabbi. I wanted to study Torah. I love Torah. I just wanted to learn. But always when I was learning, I would always end up doing things for other people. Whether it was learning with someone or teaching them or helping them. And at a certain point I realized that I love Hashem, I love the Torah, I love Am Yisrael, I love the Jewish people. And the more I can do to bring those things together, to connect those things to each other, that's what I want to do in life. So if that's what a rabbi does,
Sounds pretty good. Ticks the boxes.
that's what I want to do. So that's what happened. That's how I ended up being here. Yeah.
At Aish, how'd you end up at Aish? This is just across the hotel. You walked out of the hotel and you're like, oh, look, another one. I'll go here.
So I was learning in Kollel, in Yeshivat Kotel. And one summer I was looking for like an extra thing to do. And there's a program here in Aish HaTorah called the Aish Summer Kollel, which is an amazing 5-week learning program here in the summer. And they were looking for a night Seder Rebbe. And one of my rabbis, they were the rabbi that was running the program, and I got the job here. I came and I taught, it kind of went well, and then since that I've been able to grow and to other opportunities here in the yeshiva and in the seminary, and thank God. Being able to teach people Hebrew and teach people halacha is probably the most meaningful thing. It might be the most important thing I do. I teach another person the ability to access God's wisdom. And to be able to be a part of that process is very gratifying and super meaningful.
Do you still think it's crazy what it is, or do you have you came around to believing what age can change the world?
In other words, I came here knowing that it ought to be done. And the question is, can you? Reb Noah Weinberg thought big. You can change the whole Jewish world. I still have my doubts, but I know it's worth the energy. First of all, since God did transmit Torah to the Jewish people are eternal. I think it's the number one source of anti-Semitism, is that they think the Jews are very powerful. We're the same idiots as any other goofballs in the world. But because the Jewish people are somehow invincible and unbeatable, so if you're a believing Christian, and then you enjoy, remember I say everybody's a both. You are a practicing Jew, a little resentful of God telling you what to do, because we're children and adults. If I can picture Mike Huckabee, a born-again, believing Christian, really so, he may believe in Jesus, but what he is he's so happy for the information that the Jews kept the God going and the Torah going, his people can be part of it as well.
One last question. What's your a food that you regret, or not regret, but miss the most? Is there any food that you miss?
Food that I miss? No, because fruit was always my favorite food, and you can have that. Not kosher foods. I like seafood, but not that. I've never been so into food. I don't care. Food's to eat.
Yeah. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
One more question. You said you connected to prayer a lot. What is your favorite time of prayer? Throughout the week, and what is your favorite brocha?
There's definitely a Kabbalat Shabbat.
Yeah.
It's like a moment where you can just exhale and you know you made it. And you just feel Hashem hugging you and everything's okay. You made it, and another week is passed and you're Shabbos again. I'd say my favorite part of Kabbalah Shabbos is it's really from the beginning. It's really Yedid Nefesh. It's the prayer that we say. The first thing we say at the beginning of Kabbalah Shabbos, we say Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman, which means that Hashem is, we call him a friend of the soul. So he's the merciful Father. The idea that Hashem is both our friend and our Father is both an above relationship, but also there's a sense of partnership between us and Hashem. So that He's there for us.
When did you say that?
Friday night.
Oh, as well.
At Kabbalah Shana. First.
So now you guys know how to behave in a big
First
Rabbi
prayer.
Alicia sits down. These guys stop chuckling.
Wow. Well, enjoy your time over doing your duty. And thank you so much for spontaneously doing an interview.
Sure. I don't know what,
30 seconds. Most Christians are not very religious either. So if you can picture the idea that they say they're Christians, but they don't really believe that God runs the world. And therefore, if you're Mike Huckabee, you know that the Jewish people are the same as everybody else. And the reason they're so successful is because God gave them a Torah and God stuck with us. Literally, it's like we're a bunch of goofballs, but we're the ones that carry the Torah for him. So he has to, and we have to be eternal. Any group of Jews who break away and make changes will disappear in history. But the Jewish people who keep Torah are eternal. If you're secular, it almost makes sense that anti-Semitism makes sense. If you're secular and you say, I don't understand, you have a group of people, all Jews, and they wrote a Torah. Yeah, they say it was God, but we know they wrote it. And everything worked out, and they've been around for 3,000 years, Anti-Semitism always made sense if you take God out of the picture. How did the Jews have so much power? You got a Holocaust wiped out, they should disappear. Here they are right back in charge. Do you understand? It's like...
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. So I know the Jewish people are eternal, and one day Moshiach will come. Meanwhile, we want to make the maximum difference to the maximum amount of kids in the world.
Wow, that's cool. That is a good mission. Thank you so much.
Later, but I got a class.
Yep.